All right, ladies and gentlemen, General Greene here. God bless you. Jesus Christ is King. It is January 8th, 2026. The elites prepare for civil unrest. This has been predicted by Elon Musk. Elon Musk specifically said on a recent podcast he's expecting civil unrest. I could use more harsh words. In the United States, really, riots is what he was assuming as a result of the great human AI replacement, of course, which his companies are helping to stoke that fire. But he says, while there is going to be a lot of civil unrest and potentially riots in the United States and worldwide as a result of the transition, it'll eventually result, he said, in universal basic high income. Now, with perfect timing, hours after his podcast, because it's probably not a coincidence, it's probably staged, the young white woman was taken out and KILLED'd by ICE. The allegations were she was attempting to run over an agent. If that's true, the agent was using self-defense. If it's not, and he had other alternatives like to blow out the tires, or simply was not in danger, then, there could be far worse repercussions, implications. However, the most important part of the story, which is terrible, and rest in peace, and God bless, I believe she left children behind her, and her husband wasn't alive either, so now they're orphans. But the bigger part of that story, in addition to the human loss of life, of course, as the National Guard and ICE agents have been deployed in every American city for a very reason, preparing for the unrest, is that it's the unrest coming to the United States. So I want you to understand and remain vigilant. It actually is the plan, okay? The elites, in my view, actually want unrest in the streets of America. That will only embolden their totalitarianism and obviously their surveillance state, prison, that of course they have built for everybody. Of course, we saw what happened in 2020 with the lockdowns, the removal of the Constitution, the deletion of the Bill of Rights, the closure of your businesses. We saw this in 2008 and 2009 as well with the illegal TARP Act and the bailouts that only served the elites, that was paid for by you, genuine taxpayers out there that are just good people, good citizens, that were massacred in the greatest wealth transfer in human history, of which all the elites, including BlackRock, ripped you off. And people like Warren Buffett stole billions of dollars in taxpayer-funded infused bailouts. And so if you're old enough to remember, as I do, again, that was the great con. Now, during that period of time, the U.S. government, through its criminal central bank, which is not a publicly voted for institution at all, of which the American people have no say in. It is a private bank that does whatever it wants. It's owned by private interests. It's actually owned by overseas interests, not even U.S. interests in some cases. Then took interest rates down to zero and pumped and propped up the biggest bubble, of course, in world history, which is where we are today. Again, massive hyperinflation, massive debt. They're not going to pay any of it back. The US dollar is a hyperinflationary turd. It's worth nothing. It is officially imploded. Case in point, Donald Trump has announced, which is probably needed, but I don't know where the money is coming from, another $500 billion in the US military budget, which tells us where we're headed. World war. Again, you don't amplify the national defense budget, which is already extraordinary and exceeds the budget really anywhere else in the world. Again, our national defense spending and the interest payments alone on the national debt actually exceed defense spending at this point. So essentially, America's financial system is one giant Ponzi scheme. And that's all it's ever been. And all America is debt. That's all America is. It's debt, hyperinflation, and grave, gross bailouts, manipulation, and fraud at the highest level of the land. And this is why the American people are suffering. And this is why prices of everything are at all-time highs. Now, Donald Trump, and I will get to the World War III situation here in a minute, I'll also explain, which is my long-lasting, very long, multi-decade prediction, of course, of the stablecoin reset. and the cryptocurrency reset, which I predicted. Again, I told you to buy Bitcoin under 1,000. I told you that the elites would reset the system into Bitcoin bonds and stablecoin legislation and the Genius Act long before you'd ever heard of it. This is all going mainstream now, but understand I was saying this, almost 2 decades ago. Okay, so I've been around a long time. So we'll get to that in a moment, but essentially all of this is building up to the great deflection point. Also, there's extreme motive from the demonic elites that are still in charge to deflect from their failure to release the Epstein list. We've seen this in the past. For example, I'm in the Holy Bible right now reading the book of Jeremiah. And there's a chapter I'll probably read to you, chapter 19, which talks about what Father God, does to Judah, southern Israel, because of its corruption. And essentially what he does is he leaves a remnant of the good people, which this has parallels to what's going on now as Western civilization burns to the ground in a Babylonic collapse. But it has a lot of similes and similarities to it, because God leaves the remnant but burns everything else into ash. And it's important for us to notate this is exactly what will happen to the people in power. This is exactly what will happen to those that have been trafficking these kids that have not been held accountable. Now, we saw this with Dan Bongina, I think his name is. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, but Dan Bongina, he's the podcaster, of course, that ran and became like FBI director or whatever his position was, to expose the Epstein trafficking ring and build his entire platform of being really hard-nosed to go after and expose the files. Well, after Dan Bongina has exposed nothing and absolutely failed on every measure. And by the way, I always told you it was deep state. I always told you this guy was CIA because he popped up on the podcasting circuit and all of a sudden got really popular out of nowhere because he was being pumped for a reason, which is why, in case in point, he was later promoted to the FBI because he's always been CIA. So you have to understand that the CIA is vacuuming up the American dumb craps, okay, to think that there's a resistance when there's not. So Dan Bongina, I have trouble with the pronunciation. Let me know how to pronounce it. But Dan Bongina, after accomplishing nothing, okay, like literally zero, went from telling you that there was a cover-up with the Epstein files to later actually, Epstein didn't, number one, didn't kill himself, but then later, no, he did commit suicide, backtracking on everything, who served as, what was even his position? Just clown? I don't know. His position, clown, has since gone back to podcasting after accomplishing nothing. And it's funny, too, the comments on his podcast are hilarious because the American people have waken up to this traitor. And they also understand that all of Washington is traitors. And this is an important point because just like in the book of Jeremiah, just like in the days of Noah, faith and trust in the system and in the government has collapsed. Faith and trust in institutions, faith and trust in politicians, faith and trust in the banks, demoralization, and the just sheer fact that the American people are well aware that something's wrong, but they can't put their finger on it. So it's no different to what was going on in the book of Jeremiah. I'm going to read chapter 19 in a minute. So again, there's this big cover-up. Now, in addition to that, the United States, after taking over Venezuela and capturing Maduro, bypassing Congress and beating the crap out of his wife, who now just joined the Illuminati Party Black Eye Club, will be positioned in Venezuela for more than a decade. So I want you to understand that a new war not only has begun, but expect the United States to have a military presence, to be engaged in a Vietnam, potentially like war, for over a decade. So all this idea of no more war, actually it's the opposite, endless war, which is what I told you. Infinite war, endless war, infinite hyperinflation, infinity manipulation. Interest rate cuts are coming, which will collapse the dollar further. Massive amounts of debt that they're never going to pay back. Huge reset, huge totalitarianism, and a massive orchestration and wealth transfer that's going straight to the elite still in power as they wipe out the middle class, reset the system, and then Elon Musk laughs in your face and says that there's going to be civil unrest as a result. As they accumulate all the power, as they accumulate all the wealth, of course, as they control everything from the inside. So keep in mind, these are the same people that recommended these. These are the same people that put these on you. The list goes on and on. So a very scary time, but it's also important to just kind of have perspective here and understand where this is going. So the elites knew decades ago that they would collapse the system and reset it into a new alternative. That new alternative is Bitcoin. That new alternative is crypto. That new alternative is stablecoins. As I spoke virally on a video, pun intended, from my Jeep the other day, which did really well on X. By the way, I want to thank all of you. We have 405,000 new followers on Facebook. We have, I think, close to 150,000 new followers on X. It turns out the truth is actually popular. Again, I've put out 10,000 plus videos warning of World War III for multiple decades. I've put out tens of thousands of videos telling you about Bitcoin before everybody else. And again, this was all when it was considered crazy. Oh, we're not going to World War III, Christopher. They'll never reset or accept Bitcoin as a currency. BlackRock will never allow Bitcoin and crypto and XRP and Ethereum to exist. Oh, the US government's going to ban it. I mean, we heard this for decades. And I've proven not only to be right, but many have even called me a genius. I mean, how would I know so long in advance? Easy. I understand how the criminal, deep state, demonic, bloodthirsty, Illuminati, Antichrist, ball elites operate. And so all you have to do is put yourself in their shoes, understand how they're going to manipulate their peasant class, and how they're going to usher in the wealth transfer for themselves and bring in these controls and this new system, and then you would have been able to deduce all these things just like I did here at the Island Project. Now, by the way, the Island Project has been specifically designed for all these world events. The Island Project's diversified, decentralized portfolio has been designed specifically for World War III, specifically for dollar collapse, specifically built for lockdowns, specifically built for the attack on Christians, specifically built for the sovereign collapse of Western nations. So I want you to understand that we built New 1776, a no bank debt asset class, completely outright owned, not dependent on the banks at all, across property sets, sovereign diversification, tax diversification, all of it, cash flows, capital gains, and our tokenization launch in 2026, specifically for the world chaos that you're currently in. So just understand that for every collapse of sovereign governments, for every act of instability, for every civil unrest point, for every hyperinflationary event, for all the new debt that they're printing, for all their interest rate cuts, their 50-year mortgage scam, their 12-year car loans, only enriches my members and our project. And we literally profit from every single event that the elites have constructed. Because again, that's how I built it. Because God had instructed me how to build it. All glory to him. So very dangerous times. Now, in addition to that, Kim.com, if you know who he is, by the way, in the early days of Greenwave, Kim.com was one, he follows me, and we've spoken from time to time, in years past mostly. But he was one of the few individuals that I've actually ever come across that truly had intended to build an alternative to free speech, an alternative media, an alternative, as we saw with his mega upload, and then we saw how he was attacked by the state. Notice how the state attacks people that love freedom and that attempt to embrace it, but at the same time allow everyone on Epstein's list to continue to do whatever they want. We've seen this recently. I mean, look at Lindsey Graham, that rat. that demon. So excited and bloodlusting over war constantly. I mean, him and Trump are like best friends now. Did you see him on the presidential jet the other day? I mean, he's so excited. He's gotten everything that he wants. It's a wet dream having attacked Venezuela, a wet dream threatening Colombia in his eyes, a wet dream threatening Cuba, a wet dream threatening and attacking Greenland soon, Canada, Mexico. But I think the big focus today is actually not on those countries. I'm mostly watching China, Russia, and Iran. So what Kim.com was saying yesterday is we are on the brink of nuclear war. I believe he is right on that note, at least from the perspective, and I'm praying against it, that I do think tactical nukes will be used soon. Now, keep in mind that when those tacticals go off, or unconventional warfare like an EMP, that will only be used as ammunition, so to speak, in the propaganda to build people into the war. So understand that's also what the elites want. See, with the declaration of World War III, the elites can deflect and shift blame away from themselves. It'll be no politician's fault that the dollar has collapsed, that they had to reset the system into stablecoins and steal all your wealth. They'll blame the war, the world war, just like they did in 2020. It's not their fault for the supply shocks and the hyperinflation and the debt that they had to spend because no one could have predicted the lockdowns, except for me. I specifically predicted it because it was easy to predict, just like I've been predicting World War III. And that's what the elites do. They always blame a boogeyman or they blame an event, that no one could have predicted, for the reason why they usher in the tyranny and the collapse. Well, I'm here to tell you it's all pre-planned and pre-engineered from the get-go, just like we've seen time immemorial. So let's talk about this economic financial transition, what it means for your money, means for your wealth. Of course, the U.S. government, through its confiscation and direct stealing of other countries' wealth, like Venezuela, its confiscation of their oil and its confiscation of its Bitcoin of roughly $60 billion. Scott Bessent was on camera yesterday, which is on my X feed, saying that the U.S. government is stealing other people's Bitcoin and then keeping it in our strategic reserve. So that's happening now. And this is all a part of that reset. And I got some people working my property today, so it's kind of distracting me. So I encourage you watching my video that I put on X a few days ago. Watch that. I explained specifically how the elites are going to reset the system into stable coins and how the US dollar will be tethered not to Bitcoin, but to stable coins. Hey, Austin, can you help for a second? Our gentleman over there that's going to help us, give him the keys to see what he needs, okay? Okay, thank you. Busy day today, guys. I encourage you to get your preps too. Get ready. That's what we're doing here at islandproject.com nation. So essentially, it's important to understand that the elites in the United States government will be tethering the US dollar to stable coins, okay? And I've said this for a long time. There's no difference between a stable coin and a CBDC. They just rebranded it. So understand that too. Stable coins are CBDCs. So when the administration, Scott Bessent and David Sachs applaud the stablecoin reset, just understand you're being reset into CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. There is no difference. It's just a name change, which I also predicted and told you that they were going to do. They're doing the same thing in the Eurozone, although they're a little bit more flagrant, calling it actual CBDCs there. I think it's in the drawer, Austin, or you could ask. Yeah, I think it's in the drawer over there, and also, yeah, I think you got it there. So I might have to cut this video short because I got people here and they're going to need my attention here in a minute. But we've gone in about 20 minutes. It might even be a good time to stop. So do you understand is what I'm pointing out? I'm getting distracted here on my monologue today. I'm not going to have time to read you chapter 19 of Jeremiah, but I encourage you. to actually read this. I'll probably save this for the next episode. But just understand it's all planned. So everyone you're seeing online now repeating what I've already said for decades. Oh, it looks like we're going to be reset into stable coins. Oh, it looks like the US government's going to issue Bitcoin bonds. Oh, it looks like we're transitioning into a new cryptocurrency blockchain system. This is an original thought. Like, again, I said this decades ago. I already told you how they're going to tee all this up. Now it's going mainstream. Now everyone's aware of the transition. Everyone wants to own gold and silver, which I've been recommending for decades. Everyone wants Bitcoin. Everyone wants XRP. Everyone wants Ethereum. Everybody wants crypto. Now, as a part of that reset, the US government will hold a strategic reserve of Bitcoin, mostly through net neutral purchases, seizures, overt stealing, and confiscation measures, which we saw with FTX, which is this deep state CIA operation, which we saw with Mt. Gox, what we're seeing with Venezuela, et cetera. So they're going to hold those assets. But the important point and distinction I want you to understand is that the dollar will be tethered not to Bitcoin. So we won't be moving to a full-blown Bitcoin standardization like some Bitcoin bulls are saying. No, we're moving to a stablecoin standardization. And the reason for that is the US government will have much more control over a stablecoin integration of the US dollar than they ever would from a decentralized protocol that is immutable and deflationary such as Bitcoin. But it's bullish for the whole market. Quickly, we'll go to crypto, and then I'll cut this video short today. Please like and share. It's a busy day. I'll probably have some content coming with Papa John very soon as well. We're going to update you guys on some key acquisitions here at Island Project. Also, our roadmap for the Deck 2 launch, of which you can RSVP now at 808-442-2934. We are about to go live on Deck 2. So we're very excited about that. Again, keep in mind that we've designed the entire Island project itself for these exact events so that all of our members are, number one, in the safest asset in the world, the best investment in the world, completely out of bank debt, owning everything 100% outright, benefiting from all the capital gains, income distributions, cash flows, plus our 1000X tokenization launch in 2026, making everybody rich. I have to say, not financial advice, see our disclaimers, as a part of that essential IPO. That the whole thing, just like in the days of Noah and the Ark, was built specifically for what's going on now. Again, I see things decades in advance when other people don't. Now it's all going mainstream, which is great, but the problem is it's really too late for a lot of people. Let me give you an example. People ask me, Christopher, what's the next 1000X because I missed Bitcoin? I repeat it every single day in your face. It's this. So if you want to know what the next 1000X is, it's real world assets tokenized, invented by me. That's the next 1000X. This is the next 1000X blockchain. This is the no bank debt investment 1000X. This is the participatory live your investment. You get comp time, you get up to 40% off. You pay into your own cash flows, your own equity. Even at 5 to 8% annual appreciation in 10 years, you've made 50 to 80% and almost doubled your money. But our real estate's going double digits annually. Just think about that. Even doing nothing and not tokenizing, you make an investment with Deck 2. You come in with, say, 500,000, 200K is our minimum. You come in with $1 million. Even at 5 to 8%, which is the historical average of price appreciation, basically in high-end locations, you're up 50 to 80%, almost doubling your money, doing nothing while you've enjoyed your time, bankrolled that investment, put it in a safe place with no bank debt while you've lived it and actually gotten something in return and doubled your money after a 7 to 10 year period. But again, that's a conservative estimate. Our properties are going double digits annually, and our property set tripled in Maui and Greater Hawaii since the lockdowns. I told you that all the property values would go up in a hyperinflationary event. All right. I've been a little distracted the last few minutes. I've got just a lot going on today, guys, okay? Let's see what else I could tell you before I close out here. Let me go to my X feed. And I encourage you, make sure to follow me on X. for the latest developments. Another point I wanted to mention just about crypto, which, by the way, crypto will be breaking new all-time highs during World War III. That's why crypto was invented. It's decoupled from sovereign nation states. So during the collapse of the dollar, loss of faith and trust in the systems, and the absolute destruction of institutions in places like the United States, people will flee those banks and institutions to cryptos. Again, cryptos are outside of the bank. Stable coins are outside of the system. Bitcoin is outside of the system. So it's only going to pump those assets even further during the instability. As civil unrest and riots, God forbid, break out all across America, first thing you're going to do is remove your money from the banks that might not give it to you, right? Same reason why we own Island Project, because we are our own bank. When you see me skiing, for example, in Park City, and you see the beautiful mountain behind me, that's Island Project's bank. We own it. That is the bank. I can ski it. When I'm out on the beach and I'm surfing, I'm surfing the bank. That is islandproject.com, along with all my members. That is our bank. See, we've removed our money from JP Morgan Chase that helped to fund Epstein and did business with them for multiple decades. And we've removed it into our own bank. See how incredible that is? But I wanted to mention Zcash, which I've always told you is absolute dog crap and trash, has since collapsed. The entire Zcash team has resigned. As of today, may form a new company, and is so absolutely bleeding down to zero now. And this is after, of course, the Winklevoss twins told you to buy it at the top. Remember how I told you that the Winklevoss twins were hoodwinking you, that they were dumping on your face? Well, proves my point today. Again, Zcash is absolute freaking trash. Set it on fire. And good job, Winklevoss twins, dumping on the populations as usual. Just absolutely terrible. I've heard a lot of terrible things recently, too, about Gemini, their crap exchange, freezing people's accounts for no reasons. Just absolute trash. So I did want to mention that. Let me see if there's anything else. I'm a little jumbled today in thought. Go to my feed. I only have one official account. You can see here we're about to crush 150,000 followers on X at AMTV Media. And what else? Yeah, I think I'll just end with Scott Bessent. Keep in mind, Scott Bessent, who worked for George Soros, who now works for Trump. Notice how they flip-flop from Democrat to Republican? I mean, I love Trump, but even Trump used to be a Democrat. And didn't he like vote and fund Hillary Clinton's campaign back in the day? I'm pretty sure he did. Same thing with Scott Bessent. He worked for the most radical leftist on planet Earth. You know, the demon, George Soros. They collapsed the British pound sterling, which they made billions of dollars off of. Well, now he's been put in charge of collapsing the US dollar and resetting us into stable coins under Donald Trump's purview, which is why they put him in charge. But I want you to listen to Scott Bessent in his own words say that the U.S. has launched a strategic Bitcoin reserve, not by purchasing Bitcoin, but by holding seized and stolen Bitcoin instead of dumping it on the market. Here is Scott Bessent.
We've also started to get into the 21st century, a Bitcoin strategic reserve. We're not going to be buying that, but we are going to use confiscated assets and continue to build that up. We're going to stop selling that. I believe that Bitcoin reserve at today's prices is somewhere between 15 and 20 billion.
And Mr. Secretary, all of these ideas to monetize the asset side of
our first question today.
Okay.
Scott Bessent
So
recently
we see that. So it's all out in the open, is what I'm saying. All right, so that's Minneapolis. And to me, That's just a sign of what's to come. Denmark also said yesterday, its leadership, that it's issued a major warning saying it would shoot first and ask questions later if the United States military troops attack Greenland. Donald Trump says he's interested in buying it. The food pyramid that we were taught at school turns out to be a scam. In fact, it's the exact opposite of what the scientists told us. Notice that the pyramid is now inverted. Just like every other topic that the scientists or the mainstream fake institutions taught us at school, it's all lies, all fake, and all wrong. The food pyramid is actually the opposite of what they taught us when we were children. That came out yesterday. And I'll end with this. Maduro's wife joining the Black Eye Illuminati Club. So again, the question, folks, is what do you do? We know what to do. You do exactly what I've been advising for nearly 20 years. Buy as much Bitcoin as possible. Buy as much crypto and gold and silver as possible. Buy as much no bank debt real estate as you possibly can. Get your cash flows up, your capital gains up, and then more importantly, live your best life. You know, one thing I've been thinking about recently, especially with the threat of World War III, EMPs, nuclear war, civil unrest, riots hitting the streets of America, Donald Trump's life being in jeopardy. Again, I think it's highly likely that he's either impeached now very soon in 2026 and or he doesn't make it. I think the key takeaway, just like we learned during the lockdowns in 2020, is to live your best life in the now. The future is not promised to any man, none of you tuning in, myself included. The future is not promised, so all we ever have is the now. So I really encourage you to live your best life, to be super positive, to grow your relationship with God, to exit the banks, peacefully non-comply, buy real assets along with us, join other amazing Christians, get in super good shape. I'm actually getting in fantastic shape right now. I'm on a real strict discipline diet. I'm getting incredible sleep. I hit REM like 8-9 hours a night now. I hike 4 or 5 miles a day sometimes. I'm doing resistance training 3 to 5 times a week. I'm planning on traveling the entire world, God willing. I mean, we're literally building out a multi-billion-dollar project here at the Island Project, kicking the crap out of the deep state left and right, just blasting peacefully, of course, BlackRock, which I was happy to see Donald Trump attack BlackRock yesterday. It looks like he will be prohibiting large institutions from buying single-family homes in America. So that's really good news. But my commentary on that, it's kind of too late. BlackRock's already bought everything. So just keep that in mind and understand that even though these measures are happening now, BlackRock already bought all the housing. They already own all the stock market, right? They already own all the assets. So it's kind of like too late now, but it's good, but it's too late. So I love you guys. You know what to do. I'll bring on Papa John hopefully a little bit later for some just outside third-party commentary on world events, the economic shocks, focusing again on our solution, the solution. We're the only people in the world that have offered a tangible, real-world solution where you can pivot, leverage, and profit and really just do great things. Again, our community is outstanding. It's our greatest strength here at Island Project Nation. We are the Greene Lamborghini and the Greene presidential Rolex of real estate, real world investment and assets. We've invented an entirely new asset class, and to me that's very special. That's very honorable, and it's why we fight every single day out of the goodness of our hearts and, of course, our loyalty and service to God, who's the only one we kneel for and serve. I love you. I will read to you chapter 19 at some point in the future. I encourage you to read it in the book of Jeremiah. There are a lot of parallels to what's currently happening in the United States and the westernized world today. So get close to God before you turn on your cell phone in the morning. Pray. Be in silence. Before you turn your cell phone on in the morning, read, even if it's one verse in the Holy Bible. I'm telling you, it will set the tone. And then for your whole day. And then in addition to that, purify your mind, your body, and your soul. One thing people don't tell you is that your mind is your most powerful asset, but you don't have a clear, cogent mind unless your body and your spirit is also strong. So you have to put in the right inputs, the right fuel into your body. Just like you wouldn't put trash into your Lamborghini or Ferrari, you're only going to give it premium fuel. You have to do the same thing with your spirit and the same thing with your body, and that will translate into your mind. One thing I think a lot of people underestimate, and even myself had for years, is quality of sleep is very important to repair your brain and your body. So if you're not getting enough sleep, start going to bed early, wake up early, okay, and have a routine as you come in towards the end of the night, so you hit that REM, and you're going to feel brilliant the next day. Honestly, I'm 44. I think I'm in the best shape of my life. I feel better, and I'm more energetic than I freaking have ever been in my entire life. I even get asked by members like, Christopher, how do you do it? I mean, it looks like you're working 24/7. Yeah, but I feel great, man. I'm freaking powered like the Energizer Bunny from Jesus Christ the King. I've never felt better. I've even noticed too that inflammation has gone down in my body. I'm starting to rock six-pack abs again. Again, we're just dominating. And the reason is we never take advice and never do anything that the government and the elites have told us to do. We have strictly non-complied to literally everything, even their food pyramid, which is the opposite now of what they told us in the past. So it really is kind of uncanny to think about. And there was one other point that I'm going to forget. A lot going on my property. The internet went down yesterday too, so we had to restore that. One of my battery packs like fried. So it's always chaos. It's chaos when you live on an island, guys. So, no, I'm 44, brother. Yeah, 44 years old. I'll be 45 actually pretty soon. Think about that, man. I'm almost approaching 50. That's pretty crazy, dude. That's pretty crazy. Oh, I was going to say too, I wanted to comment on Ozempic. Have you noticed you can tell who's on Ozempic? Their faces look decayed and their bone density. I'm even noticing this with Tucker Carlson. Did you see that picture? God bless Tucker, but he looks really bad. I don't know if he's on Ozempic, but his face has like withered and it looks a lot older than it's ever been. So don't do that, guys. Stay off that stuff. That's all the stuff the government's providing for you in big pharma. In my opinion, it's poison mostly. Okay, I'm not saying, it's just poison. So just understand that. And by the way, they've done studies on this. If you go off Ozempic, you immediately put all the weight back on. It's the things that people don't want to do. You've got to do everything naturally, right? If you want to be in shape, you've got to get good sleep, have a good diet, eliminate toxins, alcohol, nicotine, all these kinds of things. You've got to work out. You've got to keep your body in motion. You've got to do resistance training. You've got to do light cardio. You got to do all the things no one wants to do. See, there's no secrets in life. Just like our world-class investment, there's no secret to this. It's just my father and I and all my members have been working our butt off now for multiple decades. But since we launched in July 2022, which is our 1776 moment, we've been working diligently buying no bank debt assets. That's really hard. We have no debt. So again, you get strong, you become the All-American. I was a Division I All-American water polo player just through sheer discipline and hard work, doing what everybody else is unwilling to do. Everyone else in life is looking for shortcuts. There is no shortcuts to perfection, okay? You must do the hard labor and the hard work. And it even tells us this in the Bible. We must suffer at times to get where God really wants us, to rise to our highest potentials and to our highest self. I love you all. Hopefully that motivates you today. God bless. Jesus Christ is King. Links below, RSVP with my dad at 808-442-2934. I've actually got a workout to get in, and I love you all. You are special. You are blessed. And just understand that God will clean the earth again, and he will leave the holy remnant, which makes his followers and believers, and he's essentially going to burn everyone else in hell. And just like he separates the wheat from the chaff, none of these individuals are going to get away with their crimes. So just understand that and have confidence that God has already intervened, and these people will pay the price for what they're doing. In the days of Noah and in the days of this book of Jeremiah, which it talks about Judah, they were actually sacrificing children and burning them alive. And that's pretty much what they've been doing with the Epstein trafficking. It's really no different. So there's parallels to both these times in history today. Lack of morals, lack of trust, institutions failing, governments collapsing, civil unrest, war, racketeering, dollar collapse, the money system failing, etc. God bless.